Go ahead and read a conflict of interest statement before we get started. Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a council member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. Members with a conflict of interest cannot participate in the discussion nor vote on that agenda item. Are there any known conflict of interests to disclose at this time from anybody?
None.
Okay, hearing none, we'll continue. First item of business, citizen communications. Do we have any tonight?
We have one, which is Desi Martinez, but he wasn't gonna be able to be present, so he
Okay.
just wanted for me to pass over, share his comments with all of you.
10-4.
And then we should be, do you want me to read it? I can read it out loud.
No, we
for
don't-
you?
we don't read
No?
it, no.
Okay, then we're good.
Okay,
And that was it.
perfect, okay. First official item on the agenda today is the approval of minutes from July 17, 2025. They are attached. Hopefully everybody took a look at them already. There was a board meeting on the 17th of July. Time flies. It's about, what, 4 pages, 5 pages, included a bunch of projects. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? A second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Next up, number 2, we have consideration and possible action to adopt the Harlingen Community Improvement Board financial statements ending January 30th, 2025. And we got Finance Department, Robert here to
Yes,
talk.
good evening, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Robert Rodriguez. I'm the Finance Director for the city, for the record. I'll briefly go over the January 31st, 2026 financial statements, and this is cumulative for the fiscal year of 2026. On the first page, we have our balance sheet. So we have total assets of $8,167,523. The majority of that is composed of investments. You have $7.9 million in investments and $244,250 in AR, and that AR represents the portion of the sales tax that has been received, but or has not been received, but is owed for January 31st. We do have one liability for $146,018. So the net of the assets and the liabilities leaves you with a fund balance of $8,021,505. And this is at the end of January 31st, 2026. If you turn the page, we can go to the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. For the month of January, we have accrued $220,000 in sales tax. That's an estimate for our sales tax for January. And then we also have interest earnings of $24,250, and that's for the month of January. For cumulative 4 months ending January 31st, we have earned $804,109 in sales tax, and we have earned $98,847,000 in investment earnings. So our net revenues over expenditures, because we didn't have any expenditures to date, is $902,956, bringing our fund balance at the beginning of the year of $7,018,549 to $8,021,505. And that's a brief overview of the January financial statements.
So $220 a month, that's pretty good for January, yeah?
Yes, January was a good month.
Okay.
And I believe, yeah, January was about 12%, I think.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? Pretty good fund balance. That's probably the best we've seen the last, last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So, and good revenue, so that's good.
It's made a comeback after the golf course investments. It's really bounced back.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Any board members have any questions, concerns? Possible action. So we are looking for an action, Gabe, to approve.
Yes, the financials, yes.
So let's go ahead. This is do we have an action to approve the statements, Community Improvement Board financial statements ending January 31st, 2025? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of that report, approved, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous, approved. Thank you. Number 3, we're gonna have a public hearing today in accordance with the Texas Development Corporation Act, 505-160A of the Texas Local Government Code to hear comments for or against funding the following projects. I'm gonna hand it off to Gabe to talk some of those. City Manager, City of Harlingen.
Okay, the projects that let me just, go back a little bit and tell you what we've done. We've already published the 60-day notice required by the, Texas Development Corporation Act. We listed all projects 1 through 9 and the dollar amounts that were going to be funded at. We received no comments from anybody. And then, so the final step is to have a public hearing here with the Development Corporation, and, wait for any comments, but I don't see anybody, except staff and board members, so.
And let's just remind the board, the process was, the city came to our board, presented a bunch of projects, we approved them, as you can see in the minutes, and this is then a reflection of those
Yes,
then being published for the public for their opportunity to make comments or concerns, and then they come back to the board, we listen if there's any public comments, and then we would go ahead and approve. That's kind of just for the newer members sitting next to me, kind of the process. Once if this board approves them, then it would go to the city commission for their approval and final allowance for the city manager to go ahead and execute, so. Do you have any more comments? I don't know.
no, a copy of the, presentation that we made at the July 17th meeting is in your package, so that was included. The only difference is the Casa del Sol. We asked for $2 million and only 500,000 was funded, so, this is just a copy of the presentation that we did. It's not what we published. If you look at the, item number 8 in 3A8, it shows the Casa
Yep.
del Sol for 500,000.
Any changes, Gabe, with anything since we,
No, and we don't anticipate any changes. We did get a commissioner that asked if this allocation could be changed, and the city attorney provided an attorney opinion saying that no, because we've already published the dollar amounts for each project. If you want to change anything, you have to republish.
understood.
You can't add,
Like, say I want another $1 million.
you can't do that. We'd have to go back and
Go through the process.
go through the process again.
So let's ask the board members. Any questions, concerns? On item 3A, 1 through 9, which are things that we did previously get a presentation for, according to Gabe.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if I could just for parliamentary procedure, if you could just open the public hearing first. There's nobody
got
here because you have to fill out a form
Okay.
to speak, and then you just close it.
Okay, let me open it up to the public. If there's any comments from the public on our meeting today, item 3A, 1 through 9, any public comments?
And we had nobody
Signed.
submit a form to speak, so
Okay.
there's nobody here.
10-4. Knowing that that's the case, we don't have any public comments at this time. I'll open it up to the board if they wanted any other conversations before we go ahead and vote.
You have to close the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. With nothing being submitted, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing part of item 3A, 1 through 9. So now I'll look to our board if anybody had any comments, concerns, if they needed anything discussed before we go ahead and approve.
There's no action on this item.
We don't approve.
No, not right now. This is just a public hearing to get, the action comes on item number 4.
Okay,
That's where you would approve projects listed in 3A, 1 through 9.
thank you. Thank you for the clarification
So,
of that.
so this is just a public hearing.
Okay.
Just to your comments.
Can I just ask a question on the Casa del Sol? I think, if I remember correctly, we were supposed to go back and get some information, then come back and you expand.
We did. We applied.
So you probably want to just move, Mr. Chairman, since you closed the public hearing, and then go
Oh,
into
open
item
up.
4, and then have your discussion.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So item number 3, we closed the public hearing part of it. Let's move on to item number 4, which is consideration and possible action to approve the above projects that we just talked about, listed under item 3, and authorize the expenditure from type B sales tax funds for such projects.
Right, so just wanted some clarification, because I know we had asked some questions, and there was some potential tax rebates on that. I don't know if you wanted to expand a little bit on.
Yes, we hired a consultant to help us with the application process. And they submitted an application to designate the Casa del Sol as a historic structure. The initial designation was denied. And so we're going back and looking at what changes we can make to the application to resubmit, because this can't move forward without that designation. So, the rejection came about 2 to 3 weeks ago, so it's relatively new. So we're gonna resubmit the application, but the consultant has to go back and modify some changes. I'm not familiar with everything that has to be done, but I know that they're going to resubmit. I want to get that clarified.
Well, thank you for the update.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments? So do we have a motion to approve the items listed under item 3 and authorize the expenditure?
Make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll make it straight.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion approved. Good news,
Thank you all very much.
good news.
We just have to go before the city commission now to have them approve the budget amendment for the city to actually start spending these funds. But with your approval, we can ask staff to actually start working on some of the processes already. This is gonna make life a lot easier for a lot of kids, better, provide more activities for them to do, and it's just something that we could not have done without your support.
I'll tell you what, Gabe, thank you for your entire staff's effort on this. You know, I'm pretty active in the local community and I know every one of these things,
Oh, you good.
you know, so.
Well, Oscar and Chris are responsible for that department, and
Yeah.
Danny
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for the support. We really appreciate that.
and Mendiola are also,
Assistant.
yeah, they're both, those are the ones with the parks that actually do the real work, right? I should say.
Well, and you know, my son's a lifeguard over at Pendleton in the summertime, so he'll be very happy to hear there's some improvements being made, so. So I'll call, he's off in college right now, he's coming back, but I'll let him know, so next up on our agenda, item number 5, consideration and possible action to approve the Harlingen Community Improvement Board budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026. Once again, I'll hand over to Robert.
Thank you. So, because we hadn't gone through this whole process, we hadn't adopted the budget, so now it's time that we bring this to the board as a recommendation to take it to the city commission for a resolution to adopt the budget. So for the total revenues budgeted for fiscal year 2026, we have $2,455,000. The total expenditures, which include the proposed parks improvements and all of the improvements that were just talked about, are $5,453,063. If we turn to the Exhibit A, so we, of course, we begin our beginning fund balance at $7,118,000. Our proposed revenues are $2,455,000. Our requested expenditures are $5,453,063. So on the left-hand side, you can see the revenue breakdown. We got $2,275,000 in sales tax, and we have projected $180,000 in interest. On the right-hand side, you will see the first 4 items are the items that we usually include. We include $500,000 in miscellaneous projects. In case something comes up that has not been budgeted, you can use that $500,000 to take care of that project. We also,
Just real quick on that note, if it's a project that we haven't funded before, we have to go through the 60-day comment period, put a notice in the paper, and then come back and get it approved. So the only time you can actually take that money and spend it is if it's already been approved, like we just did with those other projects.
Okay.
thank you. We also have the annual debt service of $604,907. The first 2 items on the projects, the $1,104,000, that was the remainder of the budget that we had put in for the destination park. We did the trails and all that, and that was what was left over, so that is still there. We also had $26,000 left over after all the Tony,
Let me interrupt you. Committed,
It
not
has-
spent yet.
Not spent.
Right, it's committed, not
It
spent.
hasn't been awarded because we haven't.
Still work on there.
Well.
I believe that was for the park, right? The all-inclusive
That was
park?
for the all-inclusive
Yeah.
baseball, adaptive ball field.
So it's committed money to the park.
Yes,
It just
it
hasn't.
just has not been spent, yeah.
at the last time, that we talked about this, we had about $1 million.
Mhm.
And we could only do one, either the adaptive ball field or the trail that we did
The
at
trail.
Harlingen Field, outside of Harlingen Field. So we opted to do the trail and the lights, and so we had to put this back. We probably wouldn't have another conversation with the board to see, and the commission as well, to see what we wanna do with that. We wanna continue with that adaptive ball
Okay.
field. It's budgeted, I just don't know where the bids are gonna come in because we've delayed it for a while. But we delayed it because of cost, we didn't have enough money to fund. And then just to refresh the board's memory, we did remove the amphitheater from this project because the stage wasn't big enough to accommodate bands that we would hire. And it was gonna be taking away most of the parking lot that's on the southwest side.
Thank you, guys.
So the 26,000 is what was the remaining in the Tony Butler Golf Course. And everything after the Tony Butler Golf Course are the projects that were just discussed, just a bit ago. So the total expenditures are 5,453,063. So if you look at the top, we went down the beginning fund balance, the projected revenues, the expenditures. So after the projected revenues and the expenditures of this year have been completed, at the end of the year, you're still projected to have approximately 4,120,000 in remaining fund balance.
It's a big number.
That is a very good
It's a big number. That's good news for the community once we keep going.
So that's a brief overview, and that's what we're proposing as the budget.
Okay. So this is item number 5. Board members, any questions, concerns, comments? Once again, thank you,
Thank
Robert,
you.
for
Appreciate
the effort there. And I've been on the board for a little while, guys. It's a pretty good fund balance. So it's a good opportunity for the city to really take a look at what else needs to be done. So that's good news. Let's go ahead and, do I have a motion to approve the Harlingen Community Improvement Board budget for fiscal year 2025 to 2026?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sounded unanimous to me, so it's been approved, number 5. Let's go to number 6, item number 6, discuss regarding the success of the spray and neuter program and discuss future potential funding.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Shannon Harville, and I am the Health Director for the City of Harlingen. And the spay neuter, the animal shelter falls under the Health Department. We were and are extremely thankful for the allotment of the $200,000 to spay or neuter all the animals that are adopted from the animal shelter. Real quickly, we have to take every opportunity we can to try to plug and publish the animals at the animal shelter. So on just about every page, there is a dog that is currently at the animal shelter
I saw them all.
waiting for adoption, and their names are there. So if you're interested in any one of them, the name is listed there. You're welcome to call them or go by and visit. So, sorry, but I have to take every chance I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on the second page, the greatness of a community is measured by how it cares for its most vulnerable, including our pets. So since the money was awarded in October of '24 through February of '26, there have been 260 surgeries performed. That does include both spay or neuter, just in case. Spays are generally referred to for females, neuters are referred to for males. So that 260 is inclusive and does include both. There's 154,986 left from that 200,000. Really a challenge for us right now is veterinarian participation. On the next page, it lists the different vets within Harlingen. The only one that is currently working with us right now is Arroyo Veterinary Hospital. They actually give the shelter a 15% discount, and their costs for spay or neuter are listed there. We have contacted the other vet clinics in Harlingen and basically listed the information that they've given us. Some gave us actual prices, some have requirements before they'll give an estimate for the cost of a surgery. At 4:30 this afternoon, we were notified that the Brownsville low-cost spay-neuter clinic is interested in working with us, but we would still need to look into that further, whether it's for adopted animals or low-cost spay-neuter. They are interested in working with us, but we just need to sit down and have conversations and see what that works out to. But veterinary participation is kind of a hangup for us right now, or a challenge for us. And so that's what we're really trying to work with and work through and build more relationships and have more vet clinics that we're able to utilize and get animals spayed or neutered quicker. So the adopted animals, the breakdown for the spay or neuters, you can see there, it's the cats, we broke down males and females, the dogs, males and females. So it's a pretty good mix of everything all together. And that's pretty much what I have at this time. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
I remember we approved it, you said, when did you start spending the 200,000?
October of '24.
So what do you anticipate yearly the cost would be? If it was October, is it, I guess when we gave the money, we didn't know, is it gonna be, would you estimate 50,000 a year, or do you?
I would say 50 to 75. I mean, we're working with one vet clinic right now.
So if you had more people, that money, you would,
Yes, we would be
Okay.
able to get more surgeries done.
okay, right.
Dr. Mitchell is the one who's working with us.
Okay.
And I mean, she has a clinic and a practice of her own. So she's willing to help us and she's willing to do these surgeries for us, but she's not dedicated to us. And so she gives us 1 day a month, where she does just spay-neuter surgeries for the animal shelter. But most vets will only do surgeries in the morning because they get dropped off early. They do the surgery in the morning and then they hold on to them. The vet clinic holds on to them until they come out of anesthesia and they're up for a while and just for observation period. So it's not truly like a full day of surgery.
Yeah.
It's really about a half day of surgery.
So the number 260, if you had more providers, would be quite a bit.
Yes,
Okay,
yes. So
understood.
if we can look at working out a relationship with the Brownsville clinic, we may be able to increase those numbers. But I mean, the cost that the other vets are charging is drastically different than even what Dr. Mitchell is charging. So for us to work with them, I'm not sure that they would bring their costs down,
Yeah.
even like to Dr. Mitchell. And so far, when we've contacted them, it's quite difficult to get them on the phone, send emails, they go unanswered, we go in person, and they're generally busy. We keep trying, we
Understood.
keep trying. But that's really our challenge right now. And so if we can get something worked out, whether it's Brownsville, whether it's other vets in Harlingen, those numbers would go up.
Understood that.
So,
What is your ask for our board today?
I was just presenting.
I wanted them
Okay.
to-
So I look at this as wonderful,
Yes, no, so
but I'm just,
I think that they don't, at this time, there's no additional funding for this necessary
Okay.
because they're still expending the funds that
Perfect,
have been
yeah, that's-
allocated, which is great. But I wanted them to talk to you a little bit about the success of our low-cost, the spay and neuter grants that you received for the low-income households in our community and how fast those spots filled up. So that way they have an understanding of the need first in the demographic of low income and then general population. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. We received our first grant from Zoonosis Control, which is a state, which is your pet-friendly license plates. When people purchase pet-friendly license plates, part of those funds go into a special account that is strictly used for spay-neuter. So our grants team did that application, and we were awarded $9,029 for low-cost spay-neuter.
So if somebody has a dog that's not spayed or neutered, they can bring them to you? Is that kind of, that's kind of,
So here again,
okay,
we contract with Dr. Mitchell. So Dr. Mitchell does the surgeries for our animal shelter animals.
Yep.
And she does the surgeries for our grant, our low-cost grant animals. Same price. She's a one-man show, so she's really,
Okay.
really bending over backwards and helping us as much as she can. But we were awarded $9,029. The first point that we could use it was August 31st. We got our ducks in a row, got everything organized. We started using that October 1st, strictly for owned animals.
okay.
In our conversations with Dr. Mitchell, she felt like it should not be a free spay-neuter, that citizens should have some skin in the game and have
Something.
some type of
Co-pay.
payment. Right.
Pay percent.
So it was agreed that for cats it'd be $40, for dogs it'd be $50, and based on the prices in here, that is definitely low cost.
Yeah.
So what citizens do is they come to our office, they get a voucher. We verify their income, we verify there's Harlingen citizens, or Harlingen residents, and then we give them a voucher that they take to Arroyo, and they pay their $50 to Arroyo. Arroyo sets their appointment when they have availability, and then those surgeries are done. So as of last week, we've actually expended that $9,029.
Okay.
We do have another grant for Petco Love, and so we're starting to expend that money. But it's still a challenge because she's the only one.
Understood.
But we have high hopes now. I mean, this barely came in at 4:30, so for Brownsville, but there's a huge need. Every time we open the portal for people to submit applications, we usually do, Dr. Mitchell only wants about 50 vouchers at a time, ballpark. Because she says by the time she knocks those out, she doesn't want to be setting surgeries 6 months out.
So this grant isn't taking money from her business at all. In fact, it's actually, okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, she's getting, but it is taking time away from her
Yes.
because she could command a higher fee for the work that she's
Okay,
doing.
all
So
right.
that one day that she's working on
She's committing.
Harlingen,
So if we had
there's
other
a cost
people-
of it for her.
Understood.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me ask you one more question.
Sure.
The 200,000 that we approved for you guys, that you still have a decent amount, did we put any restrictions on that other than spay and neuter?
My understanding was it was strictly for spay neuter for adopted animals,
That's
so
correct.
not for the
Is it?
public.
Okay, okay, you would know,
Yeah,
okay.
it was
So
just
this would
for,
be something a little bit different, I guess.
right.
So, right,
Okay.
that was just for that, because we wanted to encourage, obviously, adoption.
Mhm.
And I'll just say, they probably won't tell you, but they have been doing such a great job. So when they took over the Harlingen Animal Shelter, I think that, it was challenging. But now they've got a great team. They're doing adoption events every weekend. They're at downtown at sundown, they're at downtown market days. They're in other parts of the valley and just doing a really great job. So I think that, these numbers are gonna continue to climb. But what we've been hearing in the community is that, everybody's kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. And the spay and neuter services, when you look at the cost, they're really high. And so every time, this grant that they obtain, and they'll share that and open up the applications, the community kind of is not happy about, well, if I'm not low income, but I don't have a high income, and so, what about us? And so one of the things that I've been entertaining and thinking about, and especially now that we have a very healthy balance, is quality of life is important. Quality of life and public health, right? And so we have an issue with homeless population pets and we're doing the best that we can. But a lot of it also is owned pets in different neighborhoods that they just kind of let them roam around and continue to add to those numbers. And so I wanted to see if the board would be willing to kind of work with the city in that regard to be able to try to provide low-cost spay and neuter, kind of like those prices, but for the general population. And they could still
Open it up.
have some type of parameters of income, because if somebody's making, you know, $200,000 and $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, they don't need
don't need the-
assistance. But that's something that I think that, you know, people can kind of, you know, the board can look at, and then obviously the shelter staff to decide what that number look like for a family of 4 or a family of 2. And if there is that possibility of, yes, we can allocate $100,000 or so to this initiative for Harlingen residents, then they can go and really talk to the vets and say, oh, we have a commitment from the board, they're interested, but before you allocate the funds, it's just gonna sit there.
Yeah.
Do they have the infrastructure in place to be able to perform the spay and neuter surgeries, should that be available? I think that the community would really embrace that idea. It's been an ongoing issue, and I think it will help solve the problem that we have here in Harlingen. And if it works, you know, maybe there's an opportunity for there to be revenue generating if you have enough vets that could maybe help the surrounding communities, right? Harlingens could be at a low cost, and then if you have a group of vets that are willing to participate, maybe you do help Primera and Combs and those other areas. Obviously not with these funds, but setting that up to where we can also help others in the region, because those boundary lines are you know, they're still impacting our community. But that's what I wanted them to share, to see if that's something that you would be interested as a board, and if so, then they can go work on getting, I know you were gonna reach out to one of those, we have a couple of rescues that do spay and neuter too, and just, you know, find how they can partner with others to really solve this issue of lack of vet care.
Let me kind of ask a legal question. Are we allowed to fund recurring things?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
As long as it's meets the criteria.
The criterion? I don't think we,
We've never done it, really,
okay,
but you
that's
can.
what, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if there was a limit on recurring, like, yeah, fund this year, but you can't do it next year.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and just like funding our parks, it's not necessarily another or the same basketball court, but it's multiple basketball courts throughout the city. So
Okay.
we're kind of doing that already, but in different locations.
Let's open it up for conversations.
Sounds like a good idea, and I mean, it seems like both programs are taking a dent in the stray, I'm sorry, the stray pet population we have here, so I'm all for it, you know?
So just a question on the fees. Is there a cap on what you pay the vets?
These are their prices.
So do you reimburse them like 100%?
At this point in time, yes, we are. But in the conversations that we would like to have with the vets is, we'd like to have those conversations. Okay, if you're charging $800 for a general spay, would you be willing to assist us in doing it at a lower cost? But right now, we're having trouble getting our foot in the door. We keep trying, but it's actually getting in contact with that vet or that office manager, depending on which clinic it is, to see if they would be willing to reduce their prices. In the scope of things, I feel Dr. Mitchell's prices are pretty reasonable in the scope of things. But
So to me, it
others are
sounds,
higher.
right, to me, it sounds like they're not willing to come down at a discount. They're probably gonna lose money. So if you were to fund them at 100%, maybe there would be more participation, but then that would eat your budget pretty quickly.
It would eat the budget, and I'm not sure like if we paid one vet $800 for a spay, but we paid another vet $400 for a spay, even though that's their cost, are they still going to want to do that?
It gets tricky.
Yeah.
So that's kind of another
Just
concern if we
FYI, we're not
just.
paying $800 for it.
No, so they're only working with Dr.
Yeah.
Mitchell, and so the prices are set and the set price is non-negotiable. So that is a consistent rate. All the others, I think Shannon's just providing what their costs are to the, you call, this is the price that they're gonna
Yes,
give you.
yes.
But none of them are participating, none of them are getting paid anything. But the idea would be that if there is interest, that they could say, okay, you know what, the city of Harlingen has allocated $100,000, we need partnerships. Instead of saying, potentially we will, because right now these are shelter pets. I feel also sometimes that the vets may think, different from shelter pets versus community pets, right? Because shelter pets, you're bringing the pets that are kind of off the street. You don't know
Yeah.
what they've got, and they've got, these concerns. But maybe some of the people that are patients of these vets already could participate in a low-cost spay and neuter. So I think there's opportunity to potentially open it up. And I've told them that if we don't have I know it's hard, but if we don't have participation from Harlingen vets, then we need to start looking outside of Harlingen to other vets.
Yeah.
San Benito maybe.
And that's kind of why we reached out, we started reaching out, because Brownsville has a low-cost clinic, or a low-cost spay-neuter clinic. And so that's kind of why we, even though it's further than San Benito, because it's supposed to be low-cost, we did reach out to them as well, just to see what their prices are. Were they willing, what is that situation?
Have we, because I know we've talked about this before, but where's the closest vet school?
I'm A&M and I believe Texas Tech.
So not Kingsville, they don't have one there? 'Cause
To my knowledge, no, but I couldn't swear to you.
I remember, because this is something that's very much in demand. Every time I even bring up the subject of pets or the animal shelter on social media, whether it's Facebook or whether it's next door especially, right away I get like, why aren't you doing spay neuter? Spay neuter, we need spay neuter. And then I tell them, I try to explain to them, it's not that easy. We can't just go get a vet saying, come do this. We have to have these partnerships. And that's one thing that they've mentioned a lot. Why have you reached out to the vet schools? I know we have talked about it, but I don't know if we've actually gone out there and done that, because I think that might help.
We haven't reached out to A&M recently, to be honest with you. We have reached out to A&M in the past. And their situation is, if we can take the animals to them, they would be happy to help.
I think one of the
But-
deans came down to Harlingen about 5 years ago. And they looked at the possibility of having their students,
Come down.
yes,
Yes.
and do their intern or whatever. it's
Residency.
called. Yeah, residency here. But that didn't go very.
And see, for us, even to do something like that, I feel like we would need a facility with the equipment
We might have one soon.
to,
the-
like,
Congressman,
to get vets to come down.
I agree.
So, I mean,
So that's another thing. We just got some money from Congressman Gonzalez. We got $1 million secured finally. It's been, kind of been difficult with shutdowns and all the stuff that's been happening.
Yeah.
But it's now official, and so this will go towards the construction of a new facility. And I think it's important for us to have a spay and neuter kind of suite in the facility. That might be a way for us to get others. I know there's like relief vets, maybe they can come in and do that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there's ideas for the future, but just looking to see what we can do in the interim, because that does seem to be a priority for community,
Big time.
residents.
On behalf of the 4B board, thank you for this. This is fantastic. It's really nice to see honesty, and to know that it's being managed. So I'm
absolutely.
saying that makes it a lot easier for me to have an opinion to say, I have no issue with knowing that it's gonna be managed the way this has been managed, and so just to put out my opinion, that would kind of be my opinion. that I don't see an issue. Now, the actual dollar amount maybe could be worked out between the city and what you guys think would be fair and equitable to start. But, you know, somewhere in the same figure as this, to me, would seem fair, you know, cause you got 200,000, you're working with it. Now, if we granted another 200,000 for a different bucket and it goes faster or slower, that's something, you know.
Right, so I mean, I support that too, as far as opening it up for not just the shelter pets, but for home pets. The question I had, like, if, it sounds like we're in agreement with that, you know, is there any way we could open the current funding, or is that locked in?
No, we could open it up, because that was a decision that we made here locally for the shelter only. I think we can, because it's for the same use, just,
Different dog.
Everybody's looking at Mark.
I'm trying to understand what you're proposing.
So,
So-
200,000 and it's, they've got 154,000 remaining. Hypothetically, if they would say, we're gonna move over 100,000 for non-shelter pets, could they do that? Because they're still, they haven't expended all the funds, but the public hearing, I don't think you could, but, you know, the
Well,
public
right,
hearing.
So we have a public hearing for.
This
that
is already
spec-
passed, and so this is ongoing, so to amend it, you really can't do that, right?
No, none of it was part of the public hearing, so
That's
you
what
would
I
have to
think, yeah.
check.
okay.
I mean, unless there is a way, but, cause
Well,
then,
I-
Willing to give money.
It's, yeah, if this attorney's saying, no, we can't do it, then it's, yeah,
you know what I mean?
I wasn't sure.
It's because part of the original commitment was that they had to be from the shelter.
And that's
Yeah.
how you did the notice, that's how the public
Right.
hear, I mean, even though
Yeah,
we
you're,
didn't
I mean, you're
have,
bound by that.
yeah, so if you wanted to amend it,
I don't think that was in the notice, but I think
It
that was
wasn't
our
in the
policy, that they be
Oh,
only
okay.
from the animal shelter. So we established that policy internally.
That's
It's all-
kinda,
Yeah,
that's different.
I couldn't remember if there were restrictions. I don't remember it, but
but I
there
think
might
when,
have been.
I think when we presented it to you,
You
we said that,
for adoptions.
that it would only be for adoptions
I
from
do
the
remember,
shelter.
I do remember that for
Yeah,
adoptions.
so I think if he's saying no, then we can't do it.
If it was part of the public hearing process and that's what was discussed in the public hearing, you know, if these are some other funds, then that's.
Yeah, well, we wanted it for shelter pets only.
So if the notice was for just the funding and the internal policy was for shelter pets, then is that a possibility, like something you could look at?
I can look at it, but I'd have to go back and study what was actually done.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little unclear on the history of how we got here.
I think it's spay and neuter.
Go ahead.
So in order to amend that budget amount to, what would we have to do? Would to expedite this, you know, would we have to could we just have another public hearing and have a meeting just on
Well,
that one
I would
item?
like to go back and look at what was actually done. That's what I really need to, I need that information to make that accurate determination.
Gotcha.
Let me just suggest that, and just my opinion, we've had good success with this, it's going very well. I would just, based on the fund balance that we have, which we just talked about, instead of having to do all that, it's just, we're not voting on anything tonight, we're just discussing it as a board. And my suggestion is we tell the city we think that we can appropriate another X amount to go take a look at. And then it would be separate from this. They would have to manage it.
Right.
You know, they would manage it, hey, hey, we're running low on this funds. And then I think maybe just based on the fund balance and the success we're having and input from the mayor and the commissioner, that we just go ahead and kind of say, hey, let's do another 100 grand for this specific one and run that through the process. And so they have kind of two buckets. That's just a suggestion, but
I think that's a great idea.
That's a path of least resistance, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I don't want them to have to go back to, 2000,
Well, if you're appropriating new money, that's easy, right?
That's
It's just a
easier.
question of what prior commitments and
I
obligations
think we have
arose
the
before.
money, the community needs it, we just heard from two leaders in the community. I think we all kind of agree that this is going well, so that's kind of my suggestion. But once again, I don't wanna push anybody's opinion, just my idea.
I have a question, and I'm new to this, so it may be totally off base. Would there be a possibility, is it an option to have money set aside instead for like a building and equipment? Because there are relief vet services that can send vets into a space that is furnished.
That's what I was saying, but I think that would be when we construct the new facility, and that's gonna take a while. So maybe if they still, and I think that it's only gonna keep increasing but I don't want them to allocate funds, and they can't be expended, you know, cause maybe there's other projects that they can utilize it for. And the money continues to increase, hopefully, right? And people keep shopping Harlingen and that kind of thing, but unless you're talking about building just a mobile, because that's something I think that we've entertained in the past is they used to have, I don't know if you remember, they had that mobile behind the shelter.
Yeah.
That worked really well. I don't know what happened or the history on that, because I wasn't kind of in this position, but I remember it. And that was when there was much more participation from vets, but if you could set one up like that, maybe they would need to know what the cost would be for that, and if it is something that you could definitely have relief vets, because then you don't want to have that and then
Right.
it's not being used, yeah.
Right, well, I know there is a company called Rue, that's pretty much, they contract with different vets to go different locations to provide vet services, not specifically spay-neuter, not specifically to shelters, but they send relief vets to different areas where they're needed. So, and so that was just my thought, if we had a facility, a building, a temporary building, whatever that situation may be, that had the equipment, and then we could contract with them to send us vets, whether it be once a week, once a month, whatever we felt we needed, then that may be an option as well. And I don't know what the cost would be for them to send a vet. I just know that the company exists.
Right.
But I just didn't know if that was an option to do.
Maybe where the old PD is gonna be demolished, right there.
Well, it could be, but the agenda item for today is only to fund the spay and neuter program.
Correct,
Yeah.
So we
correct.
can't
Yeah,
really talk
so,
about that.
yeah, so, but those are things, I think, just having more numbers to talk about at their next meeting, but those are all good things to consider, but.
That's a great idea, I think. We could
Yeah.
do something.
So we've had a pretty good conversation. The action is really just to discuss. We received some information from the staff, which is good. Let's talk more. What direction do you guys want the city to take? You think additional funding, is that kind of the way we think, or do you want to take a look at modifying the current remaining? What's the thoughts?
I just wanted to bring that up, but the modification, but I'm fine with just looking at adding, additional funding for.
Yeah.
Like a separate bucket.
Right.
I'll call it, that's.
Yeah, and then also maybe we can have some options, just see what be, like you said, the mobile clinic or in-house or other cities, and go about that way, see what's out there.
Sure, we can look into that.
What about dollar amount? Now, we did set a little bit of precedence. We granted $200,000, which they're still using. Would everybody feel comfortable with another $200,000 for this bucket? It doesn't seem excessive to me, but there might be disagreement there.
Yeah, it's a fraction of the budget, so I'm good with it.
Okay.
Go on your.
Good, we can prepare that for you.
So I think given some verbal, and now Gabe can explain the process, but it'll go through a process. So I think you've got verbal commitment from our board that, once again, thank you for the work you're doing. And,
We appreciate the support. I mean, without, y'all have made it a world easier for the animals, for the people adopting the animals, for the staff that work there
Thank
day in, day out, who grow attached to each and every one of the animals in the pamphlet and in the shelter. I gotta try. It's made it a world easier, and we do appreciate you.
oh, once again, it makes it easy for us to discuss when this is sitting in our hands. It's a lot easier, so. We're not taking a vote on this. We gave direction to the city, so the process is Gabe will then go ahead and put it on an agenda item for the public and all that, so. Any other comments?
I got 3 dogs already, so.
The city allows you to have 5.
And I was in the bed yesterday, so it's like.
So officially, yeah, officially, without any official comments or concerns, I'm gonna go ahead and call the 4B board meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good meeting. Thank you.
Robert, you got space for 2 more?